Well, today I am at a park, and it's actually a really nice bluish gray skies today. A lot of overcasting, yeah. So it's going to be damaging to me. I'll get fucked up by the rays. Okay, I'm going to be talking about is linguistics. Yeah, like for me, I don't know if it's like for everybody. I get well. For me, I've learned several different languages, and especially with Japanese, when I am submerged in within the language. In other words, if I hear the language nonstop for, let's say, usually about 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, my mind switches into that language. Japanese is different. Like when my mind switches into Japanese, I think Japanese, I understand Japanese, very well. Not like I'm absolutely fluent. But I still need to see the characters to get my mind like, oh yeah, I understand what it means. Sometimes I don't actually, like with kanji, I don't know how to say every kanji, but a lot of them I do know the meaning. It's like instead of like my mind switches into Japanese, I understand its meaning. It, it's kind of weird, but it also is strange that when I end up hearing English, I don't understand it, and it gives me a headache when I hear it, and then when I see the English words, you know, it doesn't make sense. It just looks like gobbledygook. It's when my mind switched into Japanese, I get a headache when I see it, especially hear it. It's irritating, but yeah, that's how it is with me with linguistics. German's a little more different. Well, I can easily switch in and out of the German language. I've always been pretty good at going in and out of the different Romance languages. I'm better at of reading and writing the language. I learned faster of reading and writing the language than to actually speak it coherently because I still have problems with the syntax because like how I think, even in English, especially English, like how I think, it's not exactly in the English grammatical structure. The sentence structure of how it's supposed to be. A lot of times, it's more of German. The vowels and nouns are switched around and shit. So yeah, not really vowels. The verbs and nouns. Excuse me. Sometimes like when I think it's actually completely out of order of the word order, and I'm more of concentrating of trying to get it back in order before I speak it. So I've always been that way even before I ever learned other languages. But then again, my whole life I've been uh, submerged, immersive different languages. My dad speaks, uh, I think it's 10, maybe 12 languages. I haven't counted them. He knows most European languages. He can speak it perfectly and read and write in them. Most European languages. I, I find it easier for me to read and write in other languages. Uh, I've learned Russian was actually at a small child. When I was a small child, yeah, you had was the cosmonauts and stuff, and they would have their name tags written in Russian on their uniforms, and they would actually say the person's name correctly. So I figured out on how each of the characters, their alphabet, which is the Cyrillic alphabet, how each of their letters is pronounced. So I just end up learning the pronunciation mainly through the cosmonauts. When they showed the cosmonauts and talked about like the rockets, they show it in Russian and say the name, like the Soyuz rocket, things like that. So Russian became like kind of easier in that way, even though that they're using the Cyrillic alphabet instead of more of a Latin-based alphabet. more like, well, English is a mixture of Latin and Greek of the alphabets. Because you get the C from Latin, but the K is from Greek of how we write. And one ridiculous thing is I hear once in a while is somebody tells me in English saying, I don't speak English, I speak American. A dumb fuck. You are speaking English. Tell me, no, only the English speak English. The language is English. There is no language called American. You have is a different dialect than, say, someone in London. Hell, are you saying that the English only people from the British Isles speak completely different? Well, in America, there is a shitload of accents. And a lot of the accents, especially on the northeast to the southeast, the eastern side of the United States, a lot of their accents you can find direct, the same accents in England. Not just England, actually throughout the Isle of Britain. You'll hear a lot of the words that are pronounced on Britain as they are pronounced over here. Like with me, my accent is not really standardized Californian or whatever, you know, non-accent, which is standard for television. But a lot of the words that I say are in depth from different parts of the United States, such as like a lot of times I say car instead of car. I have more of Brooklyn or even any of the boroughs of New York. Technically, I have family in every borough. All of them have different accents, and they get together to make fun of each other and saying that the other speaks weird or different. I find that funny, but that's just part of my family that does. Part of them, the ones that are in the New York Isles. So it's kind of interesting what people say, like what language they speak, even though they're. It's like saying you're from Mexico and you're speaking is Mexican, not Spanish. Your nation is Mexico, your ethnicity is Mexican, your language is Spanish. Same thing with the primary language of the United States is English. You should say is that you speak is American English, which a lot of the words in American English in our dictionary is actually in the British dictionary. But a lot of the words that we use is actually an older spelling than what is being used today in England. So, in effect, a lot of our words and how we pronounce our words are actually more correct in the US than it is in England because, that's how it was pronounced, 1,000 years ago. During the Middle Ages, a lot of our words that are said are pronounced and spelled in American English was done in the Middle Ages. Sometimes, even back to the time of the 1700s, we didn't really have much of a difference, but until Weber, he devised the correct spelling of how we pronounce words in America to create the American English Dictionary. That's why some of our words are spelled different than they are in England. We speak the same language but different dialects. Same thing with Canada. They speak English, but well, technically there's English and French. Those are the two primary languages. In the U.S., the primary language is the national language is English. The same thing with Australia. You have English over there, Same thing with New Zealand, and then you have India. They speak a whole shitload of different languages, including English, Arabic, Hindi, and Punjab is over there too. It's like Whatever. I just find it strange, and I don't know why the freaking cops are circling overhead. Oh well, I don't know if this should be a Jvlog. I mean, really, the only thing I'm talking about with Jvlogging more or less is just right now. And yeah, I learned Japanese. All right, you want to know how to learn any language really easily? It's very simple. Immerse yourself in that language. Listen to it, read it, write in it. Practice writing the letters or the syllabaries. Whatever it is. Like with Japanese, Japanese is one of the toughest languages to learn if you're not from a linguistic background where your primary language isn't um, a syllabaric language or a tonal language. Hawaiian is a tonal language. So I grew up with hearing Hawaiian in English, in German, and French, and Latin, and Greek, you know. And plus, there was Russian being spoken over the airwaves on TV because, we were still kind of at odds with Russia at the time, This was late 70s through the 80s. I hear that shit, you know. So, uh, that's kind of it for right now. Hope everybody has a good day. See you then. See you later.